Alright, ratios and proportions. Here we go. One more example, and then we'll get to maybe some examples of different things. Ratios and proportions. If we're talking about ratios, ratio is just a quotient, a fraction of one value to this, a similar measurement, same unit. Rate is the same idea of a quotient, but different units. A proportion sets a ratio equal to a ratio or a rate equal to a rate, and then we can solve. We can solve by cross multiplying. Right here we can solve by cross multiplying. 4 times 3 equals x times 2, or 2 times x, then we just solve our equation. So let's go down here and find another one, an example that we haven't done, and say that, well, we can multiply by our lowest common denominator because we've got a rational equation, but you know what, if we've only got one term here and one term there, we can cross multiply. So if I cross multiply, I'd have these guys multiplied together. 2 times 5x plus 5 equals these guys multiplied together. 6 times x plus 3 times all of x plus 3. 2 times all of 5x plus 5. And now we just simply, well, let's see. This equation is equivalent to this equation. We'll get the same answer, but this one's a lot easier to work with. So now we distribute that 2 to everything. I've got an x. 10x plus 10 equals 6x plus 18. And now I'm just going to do the middle school dance. Move the numbers to one side, variables to the other. Subtract 6x. Keep things in columns. Always helps. Always helps. Number 1, to double check your work. Number 2, somebody else can double check your work as well. Subtract 10. Subtract 10. On the left side, I've got 4x equals 8. Divide by 4, because I don't want to know what 4x is. I want to know what 1x is. 4 divided by 4 is 1x equals 8 divided by 4, 2. And I'm going to take my word for it that I've got an answer. We can put 2 back up in here and double check. This would be 2 over 5 is 6 over 15, and we can reduce the 6 over 15 to 2 over 5. Double checks. Yes. All right, I'm going to do this in my head and give you an answer, and you can double check your work as well. Alright, so the answer I got here was x equals 3. See if you can get to that one. There is my answer. I'm going to skip that one only because we've done a couple of examples. Now, what I'd like to do is get to something like this with kind of a word problem right here where we talk about ceramic tiles and square feet. So here's our situation. 9 ceramic tiles are required to tile a 4 square foot area. At this rate, how many square, oops, there's a rate. How many square feet can be tiled using 270 ceramic tiles? Okay, so here's our kind of suggested solution path. To find the total area that 270 ceramic tiles will cover, write and solve a proportion. Make a proportion, a rate equal to a rate, using x to represent the number of square feet that 270 tiles will cover. But you know what? Here's what I'd recommend. Let's see, I've got tiles. I would recommend setting up a rate of tiles per square feet. And if I was going to do this, I would set up something that tells me tiles per square feet equals, all right, well, there's the value that I'm going to have here, and the value that I'm going to have here, the qualitative value here. And I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say, I'll change my color here. Let's see, 9 ceramic tiles are required to tile 4 square feet. Alright, so 9 tiles gives me 4 square feet. And I'm going to ignore units right now because we don't really need them. We know that here's our blue outline. And there's our first setup because I know that 9 ceramic tiles cover 4 square feet. Alright, at this rate, there's my rate, my green rate. How many square feet? How many square feet? Don't know. We'll put a variable there. How many square feet can be tiled using 270 tiles? And there is our ratio. Sorry, there's our rate. There's our rate. A rate equal to a rate is a proportion. How do we solve a proportion? We can multiply by the lowest common denominator, or more easily and more betterly. Sorry for the crummy English. More betterly, more elegantly, would be to cross multiply. 9 times x equals 4 times 270. There's a multiplication. 9x, 9 times x equals 4 times 270, 0, 28 to 1080. X equals 1, 9, 18, 2, 0. I'm going to guess x equals 120. And that would fulfill the answer, or at least give me an answer to this proportion of one rate equal to a rate. X equals 120, done. But not quite done, because if you think that you're going to reply to the boss and say, hey boss, x equals 120, boss would say, what does that mean, x equals 120? If you call up Menards, hey, we need x equals 120, what does that mean? What do you mean? Oh, 270, this x equals 120 means 270 tiles will cover 120 square feet. So the answer would be 120 square feet. And there's our answer.